Men, what if your self-doubt started long before your business? I have, for probably most of my adult life, had a lot of self-doubt. And for me, self-doubt ultimately stems from me being a boy that was raised on a council estate in Birmingham by my beautiful mum, and my dad wasn't there. And if you know anything about the kind of the history of kind of young boys, or the kind of almost like the DNA of a young boy, is that if you were a young boy who was maybe raised without a father figure, or maybe you had a father or you had a dad, but they didn't necessarily give you what every boy needs, which is inner certainty, a feeling of being grounded in his masculine energy. If you didn't have that, if that's self-doubt is something that you struggle with, then it maybe perhaps is because maybe you had a similar upbringing perhaps to me in that respect. And what has happened as a result of that is, for most of my adult life, I have outsourced my, let's call it, approval or validation to other people. Meaning, for me to know if I'm doing okay, for me to know if I'm achieving what needs to be achieved in the eyes of the world, I have needed the eyes of the world to tell me, hey Miles, you did good. Hey Miles, you're enough. Hey Miles, here's a metaphor, here's the metaphorical gold star. Hey Miles, here's a pay rise. Hey Miles, here's an opportunity. Here's the spotlight. Right? And the irony being that, you know, the work that I now get to do, double-edged sword really, it has been. The work that I now get to do, I do a lot of speaking around the United Kingdom. I've delivered events in front of thousands of people. I've promoted events on behalf of people that promote people like Tony Robbins. I've spoken on the same stages as people that have like Stephen Bartlett and Ed Milet and Grant Cardone and Marie Forleo that have spoken at those events. And yet I'm married to the girl of my dreams and 2 beautiful children. And yet most of that, for most of my adult life, has not been enough. And the reason it's not been enough is because what I've come to learn is that no amount of external validation will ever make you feel enough. It never will. I remember many years ago I had this idea, I had this thought, I had this feeling that if Tony Robbins himself, because for me as a young man in my early 20s, I got into Tony Robbins, and I had this thought, which is, if Tony Robbins, imagine if Tony Robbins told me that I'm enough, then that would fix everything. That was truly the belief that I had. Tony Robbins tells me that I'm enough, that I'm complete, like literally, hey Miles, I see what you're putting out online, I see your content, I see you speaking, you are worthy. Oh. I truly had an unconscious level of belief that if Tony did that, then I would be whole and complete and would never have a problem with self-worth ever again. And then lo and behold, it happened. I went to an event, Business Mastery, got to speak to Tony, went all fangirl on him. Tony, you changed my life. Right, basically everything I said in a roundabout way. And he said, Miles, thank you, I appreciate the compliment. And then he said something really significant. He said, I'm really, really glad that my work has had such a positive impact on you, but you need to know this, he said. He said, I didn't change your life, you did. But I'm glad my work helped you. I felt amazing. I felt on top of the world that day. The next day, still on top of the world. Day after that, back to normal. Who now else can I gain the approval and the validation of? See, it's a vicious cycle when you are in self-doubt. There's a sense and a feeling that if you just achieve more, you'll feel enough. but it's never enough. Built a multi-six-figure business, had a team, everything else I've just told you about, still wasn't enough. Speaking on stage in front of hundreds of people every single week, living the dream. So I thought, still not enough. Nothing on the outside will ever make you feel enough. It's always got to come from within. And the challenge is, the world doesn't want you to believe that. The world wants you focused on the outside because it's simpler, it's safer, it's more like if I do this, people will tell me I'm great, and then you get a dopamine hit where people tell you you're great, and it feels good for a moment, and then it goes away, and then you need the next hit again. I'm not saying don't achieve, but what I'm saying is be aware of when you're achieving for the wrong reasons. One of the things that I've noticed happens with self-doubt is second-guessing decisions. For quite a long time, I have made decisions, especially in my career and my business, and then I've second-guessed myself. Meaning I've made the decision, I've committed, and then I've pulled back. And the reason I pulled back, let me give you an example. So these videos, the purpose of these videos is to share my experience of what it's like to be a man who perhaps grew up without a father, grew up without a male role model, and the challenges that come with that, especially if you're married or you're an entrepreneur or you've got kids. And the reason why I have indecision, and it still happens, but I'm aware of it, the reason why I have indecision is because what happens at a childhood stage is if one or more caregiver is not present, or if there's emotional dysregulation in the home. So for example, mum raised me, did an incredible job raising me. The challenge though was there was emotional dysregulation, meaning there wasn't emotional stability in the home. And because there was not emotional stability in the home, what that does is that sends a message into the child's central nervous system that they're not safe. Now, I don't mean they're unsafe as in there's real danger, but safe in terms of just making decisions and taking actions that may not result in a positive outcome. So for most of my life, I've only taken action if there's a high probability that there's going to be a positive outcome. And they may hear that and go, well, that makes sense. Why would you take action if there's a chance of something not going right? Well, here's the thing about entrepreneurship. If you are an entrepreneur, if you are a business owner, here's what you need to know, or you probably do know, is that you're going to have to fail. Failure is part of life. But for most of my life, I've had a very low threshold for failure, very low. So as a result, I've taken decisions that have been I'll take a little bit of risk. You know, I'll dip my toe in, but I won't fully commit. So like this brand of coaching, these videos that I'm doing right now, I dabbled with this 4 years ago, 5 years ago. But didn't fully commit, didn't fully go all in. And I didn't, and when I pulled back, I didn't know why I pulled back then. And now I know, it's because I was afraid. It's because I was afraid, what if people don't like me? What if they reject me? What if they call me out and say, you're not as good as he, she, or they are? I was afraid. I was so doing it for not the wrong reason, but I was doing it. Tony Robbins talks about the 6 human needs. Anything that I've ever done in my life up until very recently has been done with a primary purpose of I'm going to do this thing if I feel that it has a high probability that people are going to make me feel significant and they're going to tell me this is great. If I don't think that that's going to happen, I'm not doing it. And that was the problem. So I would only do things that I thought would have a high probability that people would say, well done, Miles, you did great. And so if that resonates with you, then the only way through that, and I don't want to say around that, the only way through that is you have to recognize this. Indecision is nothing more than a dysregulated nervous system. So what do I mean by dysregulated nervous system? What I mean is your brain and your heart are in misalignment. So it's kind of like your brain and your heart, think of it like this. Imagine there's a business and there's two shareholders with 50-50 share. If there's a decision to be made in the business and they don't agree, then if it relies on both of them to agree to move forward, then we have a standstill. Like the business can't move forward because they're like that, right? There has to be them both agreeing, this is what we're going to do. So a dysregulated nervous system is your brain saying one thing, like don't do that, that's scary, that's dangerous, people may reject you, right? And your intuition is saying, but I want to do it. I know that's what I need to do. That's the next move. I know that's what I need to do in my business or in my life. If you've got those two things happening at the same time, you've got a mixed message. If you've got a mixed message, what will happen is you'll just go, right, I'm not going to do anything. And then you don't do anything. And that's where indecision happens. That's where procrastination happens. That's what self-sabotage is. All self-sabotage and procrastination, all it is a dysregulated nervous system. So you have to regulate. Now you may hear that and go, so how do I do this? How do I get out of a dysregulated nervous system? Well, for me, I've found one of the best ways, two ways to do it. One is breath work. So breath work, we're breathing all the time, right? But when you do breath work, if you go on YouTube and put in nervous system breath work, if you do deep diaphragmatic breathing for anything from 5 to 10 minutes, it will calm you down. And what will happen is, as you calm down, your brain and your heart will get into alignment with each other. When your brain and your heart are in alignment with each other, you're then able to make a decision from a congruent place, and then you're more likely to take action and keep moving in the direction that you ultimately want to go. And then you may have something happen the next day where you question yourself again. You've immediately got to do breath work again. Another thing that you can do is meditation. Meditation is great because meditation helps you to observe your thoughts and not just live in them. So sometimes I catch myself now thinking something. I'm not good enough, I'm this and I'm that. And now I recognize that. I kind of call it old self, new self. Old self is the old Miles that would have indecision, second guess himself, not trust himself. New Miles trusts himself, takes action. And if he doesn't, then he gets into the right state. He stops what he's doing. He does breath work, he meditates, and he gets himself in the right state, and then he moves forward, right? He doesn't go home. If he's dysregulated, he gets regulated first. That is what regulated, that's the difference to me. And that also helps, I think, when you call it old self, new self, it helps to create disassociation. Meaning you then can recognize when you're in a pattern of behavior. Oh, I'm in my old self now. I'm worrying, I'm fearful, I'm doubtful. I'm in my old self. This video today, I thought about talking about something else. I planned this video, just a few points, few notes. And then this morning I was like, you know what, I'm going to talk about something else instead. And then I caught it, my new self went, why would you change what you're going to talk about? It doesn't matter, you've already planned the video, just talk about what you planned. Why would you change it? I realized it was the old self trying to sabotage. And what meditation does is it helps you catch these patterns in the moment that they happen. So look, I'm going to end this video. I hope you found this useful. I'm going to keep it short today because I'm in a hotel room. I'm in the window and it's absolutely boiling. So I'm going to stop the video, but I hope you've enjoyed it. If this has resonated with you, we've got an event coming up called Reset. If you're a male entrepreneur, business owner, and you're maybe a father, or you're married, or you're in a relationship, and every area of your life is working the way you would want it to work, then this event that's coming up probably isn't for you. However, if right now everything isn't moving in the direction you really want to go, maybe perhaps your business is doing really well, but maybe perhaps if you're honest with yourself, your sense of self, you're second guessing, you're in indecision, you're doubting yourself often, you have anxiety, you worry about things that you feel like you shouldn't worry about, and that's impacting your personal life, then somewhere around the video there should be a link for you to register for the event. We'd love to see you there. Other than that, have a great day, do your breath work, do your meditation. It'll make a big difference. I'd love to hear how you get on. That's it from me. See you on the next video. Bye bye.